Good afternoon. Thank you for taking time out on a Friday afternoon to engage with us on a very fascinating topic. What is going to be the impact on jobs in the generative AI era? This certainly is a very passionate topic. By way of a quick introduction, my name is Sanjna. I'm a partner at McKinsey, and prior to McKinsey, I have about 20 years of experience in industry where I've spent the past decade in AI, in financial services and capital markets. With me, I have an esteemed panel, which doesn't really need an introduction, but a quick one. I have with me Tram, who is the founder of CFTE. I have Chuan, who is the leader of DBS from a transformation and strategy and all things innovation standpoint. And we have Carolyn, who is the CEO of IBF. We are doing a quick introduction because we want to really spend a lot of time in having a conversation with you. So as we begin on this topic, I just wanted to do a quick context setting. I was going to use some slides, but I'm just going to actually do it quickly, right? I don't think this audience really needs an convincing on that what is the potential of generative AI. We all understand that it's giving us a transformative leap forward opportunity. If you think about all the industries that have economic potential on the back of generative AI, financial services amongst the top 3 industries. We talk about a McKinsey research which we put out there, which has estimated the economic value from generative AI for financial services globally to be about $200 to $340 billion. That's not insignificant. The only 2 other industries ahead of financial services is high tech and retail from a generative AI potential. The number 2 point from a context perspective is, if you were to really start unpacking where is this opportunity in financial services going to come through, and if you look at all the use cases and the applications that we are seeing this far, you can see that there is use cases that can be applied across the organization, even in your corporate functions in HR, finance, etc. But if you were to really take a step back and unpack it, there are 4 functions which account for more than 80% of where the economic potential is going to come. Those really are sales and marketing, engineering and technology, customer operations, and risk management. If you look at these 4 functions, and all of us who are in jobs in those functions are probably going to see the most opportunity and advantages to be leveraged from generative AI. With that context being said, the room is all full. I wanted to get a quick read as to where is the room at. And maybe let's do a quick poll. If you can quickly scan the QR code and do a quick answer to this poll, and we'll take a few seconds. Just want to get a quick read of where the room is at in terms of how significantly do you believe generative AI can help you do your jobs better and faster. And I've had this poll running in several different conversations, and we end up with very, very different answers. And this will really help us understand how we need to navigate the rest of the 30 minutes. All right. Very, very optimistic room. We are seeing nobody who doesn't believe that it's not going to help, which is already a good start. So the job of the panel is that much easier. No, I lean towards this answer as well. But I hope this is not on account of power usage of ChatGPT to write farewell messages and birthday messages. No, I'm just kidding. So I think with that said, let's sort of start understanding this. We are going to keep taking questions all throughout the session. So I'm going to watch the iPad, look at all the questions that are coming in and keep posing it as they come during the session. So, and let's help me keep the life tough for the panelists here, so I can pose really edgy questions to them, so keep it coming. Before we get started, over to you guys. The first question I had, and it's like an opening thought, your reflection on what really is the opportunity of generative AI, and what are some of the big shifts that you would be seeing on the back of this from a workforce standpoint. I just want to dive straight from a workforce point of view, but great to get a quick reflection. And maybe Tram, you want to start us off?
Yes, no. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Sanjna, for asking the question. So first, I'm Chuan Nguyen. I'm the co-founder of CFTE with the Center for Finance, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. Just thanks a lot for having me in this discussion. It's a very difficult question and a very important question. I'll give you, there are lots of numbers as you know, IMF, for example, I'll give you, say that 60% of the job will be hugely impacted. Half of them will be positive, half of them negative. What does it mean? What does it mean is that I don't think we have the answer, or who knows what's the impact of job it will have. It's a very difficult question to say what's going to be the answer. Why? Because I think the causes are very different and it's very personal, it's very emotional, because it's impacting you as an individual. Like when you say about what's the AI will have an impact on job, you always think about what's going to happen to me. So in that case, it's very different from perhaps all the different disruption or technology it has, we have had in the past. So what we did, and I'll borrow a bit about, and I think this view is very complex. And so for us at CFT, and I'll tell you because I'll borrow a bit of the learning that my co-founder Nguyen wrote this book, AIification of Job, which I'm inviting you to read, but I just wanted to borrow a bit of his learning, having interviewed a lot of people around the world and stakeholders, etc. I think this time of the world, we need to flip. We need to really flip the perspective, because this time it will be really difficult to have a view from a people's point of view, because we all have a different views. And it's like, for example, you take and we flip it, and he flipped it, and he gave the view from the disruptor. And I'll tell you why. For example, if you are a bookshop, it will be really difficult to have the views from a small bookshop, or a bookshop in France, in the UK, in Singapore, in Middle East. But it's much easier to have the perspective from the disruptor, which is the AI. And in this case, for the bookshop example, is the Amazon, because there's one or perhaps two, three. So from this perspective of the disruptor, which is AI, it's not about on the job side. I would see, my view is that on the skill side. And to summarize what is in this book, I think if you look at the impact of job and AI has on job, to summarize it, I think we'll have three very huge trends that is happening. You will see supercharged professionals. And supercharged professionals are those who are very good in their knowledge, expertise, and leverage technology. And most of you already use AI, and in that case, you'll be already doing much faster, more efficient things. The second point, as a trend, will have mass displacement. It's really AI will disrupt job and will also, some job will disappear. And third one, you will see the appearance, what we call of creative disruptor, like the very unique people, very, very specific experts, like the Sam Altman or the Denis Hassabis, who is the co-founder of Google DeepMind, who is now, with technology, really his Nobel Prize and disrupting biology and chemistry. So you will see in finance a lot of jobs being transformed, but for you, for me, as an individual, supercharged professionals. So it means that knowing very well what you know, but supercharged with technology. Thank you.
Thank you. That's sort of very interesting. And Carolyn, maybe I want to sort of, build this thought with you. It's not like AI hasn't been around before. And now, because we are talking about generative AI, there is this element, an elephant in the room in terms of what happens to jobs. But we've seen our navigation through prior technology trends. I just want to understand, and obviously your thoughts on the topic in general, and what do you see as big shifts, but also to sort of really understand what's so different, if at all anything, from prior versions of artificial intelligence.
Right. Really good to see everyone here. I think to assess the impact of GenAI on jobs and skills, I think first we need to have a sense of how fast and how well GenAI will get adopted in the sector. I think it will be a multi-speed adoption rate. It varies across financial institutions. The early adopters and innovators will move faster. And certain segments of the financial sector might move faster than the others. So those with huge efficiency gains and more productivity value probably will run faster. Those which still have a lot of human touch and bespoke complex solutions, maybe GenAI is to augment and assist, but may not transform some of these job functions. So the context of this, therefore, in the context of this, we actually, IBF, together with MAS and with the support of WSG, we have embarked on a job transformation map, what we call the JTM in short. So this job transformation map on generative AIs will look at three things. Firstly, what we project will be the adoption rate of GenAI within the sectors. How and what and when. So we'll look at 3 to 5 years horizon and actually look at the crystal ball of that forward-looking view of how it may happen within the financial sector. Secondly, we will also look at the impact, the corresponding impact on the jobs and skills. Which jobs will be more impacted than the others? And thirdly, we'll look at interventions, how we could actually help the whole financial sector, the financial institutions, to upskill or reskill their workforce, to really embrace the opportunities, and at the same time manage the risks arising from GenAI. So I think these are opportunities for us to take a proactive and preemptive approach to really build Singapore as a competitive center of excellence for GenAI application. And this is not the first time we are doing the JTM. In 2019, MES and IBF have actually done the first JTM in Singapore, the JTM on automation and analytics. So we actually look at the impact on financial sector roles. And since then, we have reskilled more than 5,000 professionals, especially in the consumer banking, ops, and also insurance sector. So you can see today how the branch teller in a bank have really transformed in terms of the job through the reskilling and redeployment. So I think with this, we hope to really see how we can move forward and also embrace this GenAI trend. I think for us, based on our interaction with all the IBF industry work groups, we see that the use cases in the financial sector at the moment is at the POC and sort of co-pilot stage. And a large part of them are still sort of internal facing rather than external facing so that they could manage the risk. But we see that the use cases are very wide-ranging. So which means that majority of the workforce in the financial sector will see their role augmented by GenAI in one form or another, given all these use cases. And in fact, a portion of them might actually be transformed or redesigned, especially those with more automation potential. So I think take the case of a customer service operation person. So the CSO actually, with the GenAI assistant, will be able to use the tool to convert and transcribe their voice call into text. And the GenAI tool can actually propose a response for him or her to actually respond to the client. So it saves time on the processing of calls and even give better customer service response. So I think with that, what it means for the CSO in terms of skills and jobs is that the CSO will now have to actually learn about GenAI. They need to have a basic foundation understanding of GenAI, what it can do or cannot do, the limitation and the benefits, but at the same time be able to give the right prompt and the specific prompt to the GenAI to give that quality response. At the same time, they also have to learn how to give feedback, the human feedback loop to the machine to really pick up. And importantly, you also have to learn about the governance and ethic issue, about the responsible use of GenAI. So I think these are new skills that the professional have to pick up, the GenAI foundation skill. At the same time, they may also have to pick up new tasks and new roles because they are more productive, they have free up capacity, so they might be asked to do new tasks like financial planning or assistant relationship manager. So they may also have to pick up new skills for adjacent roles and tasks. At the same time, as they move up the value chain to evaluate the output of the GenAI, they also have to deepen their own domain skill. So I think these are the potential impact on the professionals.
No, thank you. And that sort of really sets the context. And lots of questions pouring in. And Chuan, I want to lean on your perspective in here. There's also a question on, for large banks, there's also a lot of legacy that we have to deal with. And therefore, there might be some inertia to change and adopt with the speed of change. So maybe as you give your perspective on the topic and the big shifts, you want to weave in the large institution perspective as well.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. Work for DBS Bank. We just posted quite good results yesterday. So if you are a DBS investor, you should be very happy with the share price surge. Anyway, before I answer your question, I thought it'd be useful to reflect on the evolution of human mankind, over the many, many million years, right? So before the agricultural revolution, right, it took the world economy once every 250,000 years to double. Now, during the agricultural revolution, it took 900 years to double. So that was a remarkable improvement. Now, during the Industrial Revolution, right, the last few centuries, every 15 years, the economy doubled, okay? For DBS, we took every 5 years to double, okay? But with the advancement of AI, forget about GenAI, just AI alone, I think it will just be a matter of weeks, right? And it's true, right? So you just look at GenAI, that exploded in November 2022, 2 years ago. The number of use cases that we have seen in DBS is just phenomenal, right? You mentioned all the cases on, customer center, the coders, the RMs, operations. Those vertical use cases are already in production, right? And then horizontally, we also have our DBS GPT, our knowledge base that is provided to everybody to use. But I think what is interesting to note is that initially we might have thought that many colleagues will be a bit apprehensive, right? Because it might mean that the AI or GenAI is going to take away their jobs. Interestingly, no. Yeah. They were all very happy. Why? You quoted the example of the customer center agent. Every day, they receive a lot of calls. Very often, these calls are not so pleasant, nasty calls, right? So they are frustrated. Guess what? We actually have a small room in the customer center where we place a sandbag, a punching bag. When the agents are frustrated after a few calls, they go and vent. Okay? So number one, I think they really feel that, wow, now it's going to take away a lot of these frustrations, the toil that they have to face for all these years. So it does remove employee toil. Number two, the truth of the matter is that as a bank, even though we talk about fair dealing, we have been more fair in dealing with our large corporate companies, less so for our SMEs, because we don't have enough people, right? We have been fairer maybe towards our private banking customers, right? But less so for our mass market customers. But the GenAI tool, in my mind, is going to transform that. Let me give you one example. So it was 2 weeks back, I was having lunch at our DBS Betterwork Cafe in our office. I couldn't find a seat, so I found one empty seat, and I saw this colleague. I do not know who she was, but as we chatted, I realized that she started her first job at DBS more than 10 years ago, selling personal loans at a branch. When we launched digital banking, there's no need to actually get a loan at the branch. People can just apply for loans online. So what do? We moved her to our Changi Airport lounge. So DBS has got a lounge. In case you are not a member yet, please sign up for that membership, right? And she learns how to service customers, but she also learns, how to sell FX, because customers might need FX. COVID-19 came. The lounge was closed. She was then moved to another branch, and she was retrained to become a wealth manager. But guess what? She has got like hundreds and thousands of customers. She couldn't serve them personally. So when we told her that, hey, we are going to use GenAI to help you to nudge customers, to be your virtual RM so that you can serve all these customers very well, she was really very happy. So the message that I'm trying to convey is that in all the years of our transformation on digital, we have never fired anybody. Right? It's always about reimagining, reskilling and upskilling our workforce so that they have a better life, right? And we are also able to enrich our customers in their livelihood better. Yeah. So that's kind of the message I want to convey.
Thank you. And I think this sort of also ties in that as we see organization adopt and scale this, they're realizing this is less about the technology, but more about how do you adapt your operating models, and therefore, what does it mean in terms of upskilling and reskilling your folks to adapt to these new operating and business models. There are lots of questions around how should I think about what are the skills that would be required for me, especially if I'm in an organization which is got a mix of people who are not that tech savvy. Tram, do you want to give us a view on how should people think about gearing themselves up in this new world, especially if you're somebody who's non-technology oriented and a very erstwhile traditional banker?
Yes, no, it's a very, very good question. I think we've been through the first, the second, the third, and now fourth industrial revolution. And what I think this time around, and I've been asking this question for many, many years now, and I still believe people a couple of years ago said, we need to develop hard skills. We need to ensure that we understand technology really, really well. And for me, it was not sufficient. Yesterday, I was here and I saw people answering the questions, what are other skills most people must gain so that they can be, adapted very fast? And most of the people, 90% of the people say it was soft skills. Hard skills, soft skills. For me, is still not sufficient. I think in today's world, you need much, much more than that. And I think I'll give you our own framework at CFT that has been embedded in all our online learning and all the way that we teach our professionals is SHIME framework. I love framework, and it's about developing soft skills, of course, communication, interpersonal skills, understanding people with different culture, etc., really, really important. Hard skills, you need to learn. That's why you're here. That's why you want to meet the people. You want to understand what's really happening and understanding with a degree or etc. But today is not enough. You really need to understand what's happening in the industry. Is happening so fast that we make sure that people understand all the use cases. That's why you're here. You want to hear what's really happening in the industry. So industry knowledge. What is really important as well is to have the right mindset of adaptability to change, not being afraid of technology, but really embracing it so that it's really part of your culture. I used to be a banker. I transformed myself into an entrepreneur. Today, what I say to all my friends, and colleagues in the bank, please, disrupt yourself and think like an entrepreneur. Whether you work in a bank, try to start building things by creating things. Try to think adaptability and think like an entrepreneur. And last but not least, and that's perhaps for you, but also younger graduates, is to get the experience of being in innovation. Try to have, experience of working in a startup, or the experience of innovating is really important. So I would just give my advice is to shine. And another advice is supercharge yourself, get domain expertise, get technology, and lifelong learning, continuous education.
Excellent. Thank you. And, there's always this element that we keep hearing from a technology skill set perspective that there's going to be a surge in demand with regards to prompt engineering, fine-tuning, context engineering type of skill sets. There's also this emergence of demand in people being in a position to understand risk and legal aspects and the ethics of understanding. So being yourself putting yourself out there to understand those elements have started to become more and more critical. Chuan, I've heard you talk about this element of how you're seeing specialization probably going to be less required and you require more generalists. I wonder if you want to, quickly give some inputs.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we are behind time. So I think you mentioned mindset is very important, but it's not just mindset. I think it's mindset, it's behavioral set, and it's skill sets. Okay, and I think that with the use of GenAI, I do think that specialized domain knowledge is going to become less important because the machine can help you. What is actually more important is the ability to frame things, the ability to link dots together, the ability to even reimagine. So that was the things I think, actually the humanities part of, the learning is actually more important. And I think that it's not so easy because even for myself, I'm actually a chartered accountant by training, right? Then I went to consulting. Then I went to risk management. Then I went to operations. Then I became, the product head for cash and trade. Then I went to Taiwan with the CEO for 5 years. Now I'm back driving all this transformation, strategy, analytics, and research. I mean, all these were new to me 1 year ago. I had to learn all these things from my people. So I think the mindset is important, but I think it's also about the company must provide, the ability for people to get exposure to different parts of the company and learn and take some risk in that, right? There's no guarantee of success, but if you don't try, you will never know. And organizationally, I do think that there are many things that we can help our people to do with training, with role modeling, with incentives. And DBS Bank, I think we are very well organized on that front.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly, and I know we are sort of needing to move, but is there Tram put like the thing out there in your second category that there is going to be disruption to some types of jobs. Given DBS has been on this journey for a while, and your sort of digital transformation and AI and GenAI has been known, it was very important that you mentioned that you didn't see anybody let go on account of that. But are you fundamentally seeing some roles look very different? Like, would a relationship manager 2 years from now look very different from what they look today?
If you look at banking, for the longest time, the day in the life of an IM has not changed over all these years. Never changed, right? I think that going forward, we might even need to question, is there a need for a customer center? Because the customer center was set up to actually augment the role of service that the IM should provide, but they couldn't do it, right? So going forward, the need for a customer center, is there a need for that? So I think there is probably a need to reimagine in terms like, how do we redefine operating models? How do we define roles? And with that, it might also create new roles. So in our space of data, we have got new roles like, ML ops, data translators, visualizers, control towers managers, journeyman. There's so many new things that security, right, cyber, so many things to look at that I think that I'm not concerned at all with, the demand, right, of new things that will be created for people to work on with this journey.
Yeah. And Carolyn, to get your inputs, like IBF plays a pivotal role. And in 30 seconds, like what can people expect to be able to gear themselves up with regards to generative AI in the days to come?
Yes. I think given all the changes, IBF is looking at 4 ways in which we could help you. So firstly, as I mentioned, is about the job transformation map. So that job transformation map gives a granular view and a comprehensive view at the job role level. So for each of the key job roles in financial sector, you get a sense of what are the skill sets that you need to pick up to really embrace this new emerging trend of GenAI. And this JTM, we also are developing a GenAI sort of chatbot to help you to sort of navigate the job transformation map. So we translate the report into a very interactive, personalized way. We call it IV. So out at our booth there, as part of the advertisement, do look out and test out how to use the IV. We have applied it for the use of sustainable finance job transformation map. So that will give you a very sort of a personalized form of understanding what it means to your specific job role. The second way in which we help you is really to upskill. So we will basically create a training ecosystem We will accredit training courses that is aligned to the new skill sets required. And then we will support by co-funding, and we will recognize skills mastery through skills batches and IBF certification. So we also will put together a foundation GenAI sort of courses, really to help users like yourself. You may not be IT savvy and you may be new to this, but really to build up the foundation of what is GenAI, what it can do, and how you can use it. So when you embark on use cases and POCs, that's how you can sort of learn on the way. And then thirdly, is really about job support. So for jobs that are going to be redesigned or transformed, we really will look at career conversion support, and also reskilling, and also plus career advisory. So I think these are all support that will support your transition, whether it's to the adjacent pathway, which Chuan has mentioned, or new career opportunities that you can explore. Last but not least, we will really look at talent development, because in the midst here, I think there are young talent in the crowd. We will really also work with Institute of Higher Learnings to really shape the curriculum so that as you learn and before you graduate, you have some foundation of what's is going to come. And then we will also look at internship, apprenticeship, so that you can have exposure to some of this application that is being used in the financial sector. So I think these are various things, the resources are there. I think all we need from you is being proactive and being sort of very participative and open to all these trends.
That's amazing. Very glad to hear. And I know we are on time, and maybe the last question to each one of you, and this is in many different forms and form, it's appearing on my screen. It's as somebody new entering the workforce in financial services, how should I prepare myself? Maybe Tram, you want to go first, and then Carolyn, and then Chuan, you should end that. What does my Gen AI-enabled future look like as somebody entering into the financial services workforce?
Yes, I think, I shared about SHIME framework, of course, soft skills, hard skills, industry knowledge, mindset. But I think for a graduate, get yourself an experience. You have the chance, to have a lot of companies here looking for talent. Try to get as many experience as possible, because this is where you're going to be very, very different. I think, you will have a lot of portfolio careers by learning by doing. And I know it's probably difficult, but we have the chance in Singapore. I'm coming from the UK. I know Singapore is doing a lot. I've had the chance to work with IBF for many years now. You are being enabled and encouraged to learn. I think is to get that experience started. I know the ecosystem is very vibrant here. So my advice is get as much experience as possible. Thank you.
Excellent.
I think for Gen AI too, there is potential to really reshape the entry-level jobs and junior roles, where the young talent pipeline are flowing in. So I think it's really important for the young talent to really equip yourself with knowledge of what is this Gen AI. Even as you study, start to look at some of those use cases. And then when you get a chance to go for internship, apprenticeship with financial institutions, do look out and get involved in some of these use cases, because applied learning is one of the best way to learn and pick up. And then I think really looking at accredited courses that you can go to pick up foundation skill as a starting block, and then build on from there.
So the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, said that AI doesn't take away our jobs. It's people who embrace AI that will take away our jobs. And AI is here. And guess what? Some months ago, I composed a poem. And my friends, know that I like to also write songs. And they say, why don't you, put that poem into a song? I had no time because I prepared for this conference, right? Yeah, so busy, right? So then just 2 days ago, I decided to use an AI app, okay? And you know what? Just within 2 minutes, the song was done. And the song is called, It's Okay to Be Not Okay. Rock it.
All right, with that, we thank you for your time, and we hope this was an insightful session. Spending 30 minutes should have given you more walkaway points than having spent 30 minutes with ChatGPT. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.